Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's Sunday. This is Astrolada's channel, and I'm Teri Hunter here with this week's Angels in Astrology. So I'm just going to give a minute, see if anybody's here. Hello, anybody out there? Oh, I see somebody. All right. Well, I'm just going to kind of start. The New Year starts with a bang. And this week we have things sort of giving us an opportunity as old Lang Syne comes in, and we review 2021 and we look at Venus and Pluto continuing their conversation. Mercury's creeping into the picture as it's about to go into its storm period. So this is really an opportunity to review the structure of our lives, review what is truly making us happy and what provides us an opportunity for shifting. And I want to offer it this way because I don't think it's about trying to take action right now. It's more about an alignment with your own evolution. And I've talked about this a little bit before, but I really want to emphasize it as this new moon is in Capricorn. And it's interesting because in the here in California, it will be on the 2nd. So there's this thing about twos happening in 2022. And what do twos represent but cooperation? And I don't think it's about cooperation with the old structures or the old dynamics in our lives, as much as it's an opportunity to renovate the structures in our own lives and to acknowledge our growth, and also to acknowledge how sometimes if we're triggered by something, that gives us an opportunity to actually see our growth because we can see the response and the evolution of our own response to something. So welcome, everybody. I hope everybody had a lovely Christmas. Hi, Juan. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Eurydice. Hi, Roberto from Brazil. Hi, 14 Ree. Did I miss somebody? Michelle, hi. Nice to see you. Katerina, welcome. Good morning, small wildflowers. I hope y'all had a lovely Christmas. I had the weirdest thoughts. I was watching a bunch of old movies yesterday. It was a very quiet day for me. I was watching It's a Wonderful Life. It was literally like a back-to-back marathon. So once it stopped, it started again, and it went on for like hours and hours. And I was wondering about George Bailey's natal chart. And I was wondering, like, what would his moon be and what would his sun be and how would he process his life? Born in 1907 in Bedford Falls, New York. I just thought it was interesting and I bring this up because as we're going through this new moon in Capricorn, and it's going to hit everybody, depending upon what your rising sign is in a different house, I really think it's about structure in general and how maybe sometimes if we know something about somebody's natal chart, let's say they have a stellium in Capricorn, then we have an awareness of a certain characteristics that they may have. And I think that's part of our own evolution, part of the 2022 being an opportunity not to be cooperative, and we want to be cooperative with others, but to be cooperative with our own evolution that gives us a broader perspective as Jupiter moves into Pisces. So this gives us an opportunity to look at some of our challenges and how they serve to empower us. Okay. So last week somebody, Erides, thank you for asking about Lucky. Last week somebody said something about he is sunbathing in the background. I don't know if you can see him. Let me see if I can. Oh, there he is. See his little furriness there? He still has his cone on only because we're still working on his eyes, but he is doing so much better. And I really want to thank everybody in their comments and mentioning about the Baraxo, and it's been a long journey, but this is where I'm going with this, okay? Because there's a reason I said that. Lucky, this whole time I could have thought, oh my God, I was so happy. Why did this have to happen? Why did this blah, blah, blah? And I could have gone into a pity party. And I'm not going to say I didn't start to, but on this side of it, I'm sort of grateful for how much I learned, how tenacious I was to trust my instincts, how much the tribe helped me with their natural remedies and suggestions, and how it worked. And Lucky is truly almost 99% back to his normal self. I'm just being a little bit cautious because sometimes when something's a little fungal or bacterial, you think it's gone and, I don't want it to flare back up. But anyway, so I really want to thank you all. And I want to offer it this way because as we walk through the last week of 2021, and we could talk about, what a crazy couple of years it's been, but life is crazy all the time. So as we really take this time to acknowledge how sometimes our past serves our present and serves our future. And we start rewriting that story a little bit, not to release it or even to forgive it or understand it, but to see the power of what it gives us in the way of resources. Because when it came to my cats, I knew how to do a lot of things naturally. But again, it was through challenges. It was through a walking of fear and of trepidation. And at the same time, I'm so blessed to have that challenge because now I feel completely, at least in this particular lane, when I smell this, when I see this, when I notice that, I have resources. So, all right. So this new moon, I want to talk about this too, because we have like a stellium happening in Capricorn right now. And Mercury's going to go retrograde at the beginning of the year. I didn't write all the dates down, but I want to offer it this way because it's not just about thinking Mercury. Mercury represents an opportunity to move from one place to another. And as we are reviewing our Venusian dynamics, how we're using our skills, how we're making our money, how we're valuing ourselves. This mercurial dynamic of going back into retrograde, I don't think this is about conversations going awry or emails not going through. I think it's about self-talk. I think it's about focus and noticing my focus, noticing how I'm showing up as I'm driving down the highways. Am I so impatient that I'm literally like a magnet for road rage? Or am I one of these kind of, all right, the more I surrender to the dynamic of craziness, the more I start to notice how the lights are always green. Or, I'm finding a clearer path. Or the guy who's going is getting to the same place at the same time you are. This is what I want to offer for this first kind of week of 2022 as we're closing out 2021, to sort of really work on looking for all the opportunities that this shit show, pardon my language, has offered us. I just couldn't help but say it that way. Because manure makes the garden grow. That's what I'm saying. All right, let's get to our readings. I would be super interested, and I don't know if you guys want to come back next week, but, George Bailey is a fictional character. He was duty-bound by his loyalty to his town and his altruistic view of life. So I think it's super interesting to think about what his chart might be like. I could go back to 1907 and I could see all the dynamics of the slower moving planets, but I'd really be interested to see during this holiday season if you guys have a character that resonates with you. I don't know, maybe it's even the Grinch. Maybe it's Santa Claus himself, but I'd love to see if next week, I know Christmas will be over, but I'd love to see you pitch your ideas of what maybe some of these holiday characters, what their sun, their moon, and their rising might be. I'm just curious. Okay, so let's start with our Pisces. It's going to be so lovely to have your ancient ruler of Jupiter joining your natural sign, coming in and starting to have a very loose conversation with Neptune, but they'll be headed towards each other. So it's a great time to start to kind of set down some broader perspective thoughts and how you'd like to implement that into your life, and how the thought of Neptune being an egoless planet, and I want to say it this way because the ego is not about, from Teri's perspective, from what she's been shown by spirit, it's really not about deferring my power to someone else and thereby being egoless in my subservience, but rather taking my power back, hello Capricorn, standing in leadership for myself. And I say that because of so many planets happening in Capricorn, the new moon in Capricorn. So as I allowed Jupiter to start to expand my self-talk, to start to see myself from a more spiritual leader way, that if I choose my own path, if I allow myself to really have that broader view that other people may not agree with, am I really standing in opposition to them, or am I standing in an invitation to myself? And in that invitation to myself to see myself from a bigger perspective, am I not offering myself an opportunity to start to enjoy my happiness? And let me say this about happiness, okay? Because the human by nature struggles for their happiness. So when things that start to feel like they're lining up, I met that person, the job is coming in, it can be a huge trigger to loss, a huge trigger to that proverbial rug being pulled out from underneath you. And this is where the review and where Mercury, I really think, gives you an opportunity to move into smoother waters in some ways, in your mind, in knowing that, hey, you know what? No, I don't think the rug is going to be pulled out this time, because I've actually been conscious and I've been making intentional choices, and I've been looking at my own ability to receive my happiness. And I'm choosing to be gentle as I run up against roadblocks that sometimes make me feel vulnerable to my happiness. I hope all that makes sense. All right, let's go on to our Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Thank you, Sammer. I had my hair cut this last week. I really think this girl does a fabulous job. Get those layers I like. Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. And I really, here's where I'm just so defiant. Rising and moon to me are on the same level. I would absolutely watch both of them, because my rising is my perception, my perspective. It's how I view the world. And my moon is my emotional body. And there is absolutely, you will never convince this Taurus moon lady that when I feel terrible, I'm at my top peak performance of manifestation. No, I'm on an uphill climb. So I must pay attention to my moon. And my personal moon, Teri's, has Uranus floating around it. So I'm really into this idea of being liberated, not shocked, but liberated from old and maybe Taurian ways of being stuck and fixed in a certain perception. Okay, here we go. I've gone 3 years without cutting my hair too, and it gets so long. Oh my goodness, I start looking like Cousin It. No offense to anybody, but it gets so big and bushy. Okay, I'm really on to Pisces now. And what these readings are for you guys is really to help you traverse these transits, to help you find a way not to look at something as if it's happening to you, but you're co-creating it. And I want you to think of yourself sort of as this triad, and not the rising, the sun, and the moon, but your intention along with spirit and your emotional body being willing to stand in an uncomfortable place to be comfortable. That's the thing about this situation with Lucky. I could have run to the vet, but in the deepest part of me was like, no, there's a bigger picture here. There's something more happening to not just this situation. I don't even know what to call it. And as I sought deeper and deeper levels of what the spirit trying to tell me, then it made more sense why I was having the challenge. Because if Lucky never ever had a challenge, then I would never know how to fix anything. And that puts me in a vulnerable place. Okay, Pisces. Our first angel is Ariel, the connection to spirit. The second is Francesca. What are you visualizing? The third is Vanessa, faith over fear. And the final is Maya. Somebody said everything's all about me when I talk. And, I think it is. I talk a lot about my stories. But my stories, Neptune and Mercury in Scorpio, relate to what's happening with you, Pisces, because Maya's all about schooling and education. So something is happening for you to start to realize that when you're sitting in a human experience, and these retrogrades don't have to have something like terrible situationally happen to you, but they could be triggering nostalgia or loneliness. This is a very challenging time for a lot of people because family is either distant or disconnected or discombobulated. Pick a dis word. All right, here we go. Hi, Kit Kat. Welcome. Okay, Ariel is being joined by the spider. Francesca's being joined by the focus card. Vanessa's being joined by the restriction card. And Maya's being joined by the novice. Pisces by nature has no protective shell. It's just these little fishies swimming around. And if a predator comes or if they feel uncomfortable, their only defense mechanism is to swim away. So this is where I'm going with this, because I feel like Pisces is starting to have an opportunity to realize that swimming away is maybe not always your most powerful stance. And it isn't about going up against the opposition of the human, but rather about actually creating a strong connection with spirit that allows you to understand the human experience. Now, this is where I was going. When I started this video, I was talking about George Bailey from It's a Wonderful Life. And, I don't know, this is a fictional character, but when I look at it, I see an understanding of why he does what he does, even if he's frustrated with himself. So, Pisces, there's the potential that you don't need to know everybody's natal chart to trust a deeper instinct about what you intuit about your relationships. And then rather than focusing on the negative, because that's what Vanessa says, what are you focusing in on? Because it stokes it, it fuels it. It's a natural thing. If you fall in love with somebody from another state, let's say you fall in love with somebody from Hawaii, you will see Hawaii on commercials. You'll see Hawaiian license plates. You'll see leis everywhere. You'll see hula dancers. All of a sudden, your focus will be pulled. It's a natural law of attraction. So what is Pisces getting to pay attention to? What is their opportunity and or their obstacle? It's your focus. And what Spirit is asking you to do is to take a pause. Here we go. Mercury retrograde. It's not quite time for the retrograde, but we know the storm starts. But more than the Mercury retrograde, Venus right now in Capricorn is really representing here as restriction. Faith over fear. And that faith is not to be something like, oh, will somebody, come and put some, fairy godmother on top of my head. No, it's faith that you have been on this human journey. And like the Fool in the tarot, you are doing your best through each card's energy to learn, to extract, and to implement, because you are the Fool in many ways. You are starting a new journey and you're brave in doing so. And this journey is a journey of awareness about your own energy and what your belief system, your being energy does when you endeavor a situation. So what is my being energy? It's my belief, my disposition, my attitude, my energy in general. Think about when you're in a hurry. When you're in a hurry, I don't care where you are in the world, you get in your car and subconsciously, although consciously, you think everybody's an obstacle around you. So this coming week, start looking at those cars as almost as you set this intention, and as you drive up behind them, they just decide to change lanes. And you almost feel like they're just opening up this path. Because and I'm saying this for everybody, but for Pisces, really engaging your relationship with spirit will start to bring miracles that you could not have expected. And they seem like miracles, but miracles are simply alignment to source energy without the underlying resistance of disbelief. That's where I'm going. And Jupiter will help anchor this as the month progresses or as we get into 2022. Some other things will get disruptive, but anyway. All right, here we go. On to our Aquariuses. Oh, well, insight and awareness. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you got snowed in. I also watched White Christmas this week. Not this week, I should say, in the last 2 days. I've been like on a crazy Christmas movie binge, and I didn't watch anything that was younger than 1940 something. I watched The Wizard of Oz last night. Oh, and I gave myself treats for Christmas breakfast. Okay. I had cinnamon toast. I couldn't find a Pillsbury cinnamon roll to save my life. It was like there was some sort of weird sale. I wanted to make cinnamon rolls and hot cocoa for Christmas morning, but I'm glad I ended up with the cinnamon toast. It ended up being better. 145. Oh, are you in Baja? Awesome. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. All right, here we go. Aquarius, our first angel is Bridget. The second is Archangel Michael. The third is Astera. And the final is Grace and Antoinette. Well, this is interesting. Let's see what Bridget wants you to look deeper into. Oop. Well, there we go. Let's see. Risk. That's what just flew out of the deck. Archangel Michael's being joined by the Fire Fairy. Astera's being joined by the Dragon. And Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Cat. Okay, so as I look at this, the first thing I can't help but think is that Aquarius is a fixed sign, and Aquarius rules space. Aquarius rules feeling a little bit outside the box. Okay, a lot outside the box. And it's ruled by Uranus and Saturn. And it can govern anxiety, lightning, electricity. And I feel a little bit like this is really a little bit of an inventory. Here we are talking about a new moon in Capricorn, which represents structure. And I could go into all the other aspects, but I think this is a structure of how I'm perceiving my own life, and not the structure that I've been assigned, not the structure that is considered normal, because normal is gone and we're rewriting normal. Because I think that there's a little bit of Aquarius that has to risk looking deeper into those feelings of being an alien or feeling outside the box, because I don't think you want to be in the box. And I feel like if you were a little bit, I want to say it this way, being a fixed sign, sometimes I'm a fixed moon. So I get into this emotional habit. And I feel like Aquarius is in a bit of a habit of feeling outside the box. And I think Aquarius actually revels being outside the box. And I feel like Archangel Michael is saying it's your opportunity to have the courage to actually see how inspiring being outside the box is. And now you have a chance to really start to decide if you want to live in a rectangle, a square, an octagon, an igloo. I don't really, Saturn, is your co-ruler. And I'm convinced Saturn doesn't care what lane you pick. I think that's sort of an old school way of thinking. I think all Saturn wants is your dedication, your stoicness to walk through the fire, to be determined. Because Astera in the Angel's Advice Aquarius is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. Well, what do you rule? You rule the stars. You rule space, and this is where your real power is. And I want to say it this way: space is a forward-thinking thing. It's a willingness to be in the unknown. It's a willingness to be unsure. So are you really anxious? This is where I get kind of funky with Aquarius, because so much of it rules the unknown, and then Aquarius can be so vulnerable to anxiety. And I really believe that anxiety is this alert from the oversoul saying, "Oh, ho, ho, are you following the herd? Are you doing what's authentic to you?" Because in the final position is Grace and Antoinette asking you to have compassion. And then there's the cat, healthy boundaries. This is individuality, independence, and 9 lives. So I want to offer this. Can Aquarius walk through this new moon of rewriting the structure of their lives and allowing themselves to, rather than feel the old story of I'm nervous or I'm anxious, I'm unsure, I feel vulnerable to outside influences. Are you willing to drive the bus a little bit more by looking at what your true desire is and risking putting that in the forefront of your mind? Again, I don't think that spirit is asking you to take physical action on it as much as they're asking you to muse, to have a creative action and the courage to have it. Because, I didn't actually see this one, but Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, everybody on the island of misfit toys is actually the coolest in the whole stupid movie. Okay. And that's what we get to really realize is when we watch these movies, we root for the underdog. We root for the Aquarian energy. We root to be individualistic. So now it's your time to understand that that's where your leadership lies. That's why you rule humanity and networks. So yes, on some level, you may be in an old habit of feeling unsure right now. And gosh knows, with all the stars aligning in Pluto and Venus having this very intense, conversation that isn't stopping anytime soon. She's going to move away from it, but then it's coming back. And so this is really about, how do you value things? Where do you allow your own skills and your own natural talents to blossom? And where can you sit in that sort of leadership of your own uniqueness and individuality? Okay, so let's go on to our Capricorns. This is happening. So much activity going on in Capricorn in the last few years. It feels like, obviously Pluto's been in there forever and a day, but it seems like every time the planets meet, and while they don't always meet in the same configuration, they certainly have a theme. And that theme is out with the old and in with the new. And I don't think that we should look at these things in a polarized way. I feel like what we're learning as humans is how to integrate our thoughts. We so often want to compartmentalize things into good and bad. If you look at astrologers, you could go to 10 different YouTube videos and you'll have the same keywords from every astrologer about these planets. And I really feel like part of what's going on right now is not throwing the old box away, but allowing it to expand. So here's Saturn ruling Capricorn and Aquarius. And while Saturn is making an aspect to transiting Uranus and Taurus, this is, to me, is clear-cut evidence that the stars are aligning to rewrite our structures, and in a way that supports a deeper truth to who we are as humans, because we're souls inhabiting a human experience of empowerment, and we can't feel empowered if we don't have a challenge. Capricorn, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go. So if I'm to go into Capricorn rising, and that just might be George Bailey, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to drop on that. But, there's a doubt. Doubt comes in, that feeling of duty over self. So what, Capricorn, how can you be dutiful and to work for yourself? That's the the key to the lock. All right, let's see. The angels say, Astera says to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. Archangel Gabriel is focusing on any insecurity you may have in your communication, how your self-talk is. Azure is telling you your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith. And Serena is the angel of abundance. Ooh, God bless. God bless. We know Capricorn loves money. Let's not, who doesn't love money? Honestly, because money equals freedom. It equals choice. It's not about stockpiling it. Okay. Astera, Capricorn, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Astera is asking you to risk reaching for the stars. This is where it gets very sketchy for Capricorn, especially sort of more seasoned Capricorns, meaning you've been on the planet a little bit longer, because this idea of what's expected of us is ingrained in us, like literally like rings on a tree, and it's really hard to break a habit. And that's where I think we're in right now. And that's why I think for Capricorn, Astera is asking you to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. And that's not easy to do. It's sort of like you have to reach for the stars, see yourself, limit yourself by what you believe you are responsible for, and then go back and do it again. Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde coming up. Take advantage of these new moon in Capricorn, opportunity for a 6-month cycle to rewrite your structure. Okay, Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the Raven, which is about magic and timing and synchronistic events. Azure is being joined by the Dragon, and Serena is being joined by the High Priestess. Okay. So this is the thing again. I love me Capricorn, okay? And I really reject a lot of these old, I'm not saying they're not valid. I'm just saying they don't have to be dominant. So every Capricorn doesn't have to be depressed and rigid and stoic and, work all day long and then eat the same dinner. You know what I mean? Because this is where I'm going with this. I think the last 2 years with all of this activity, we're playing to the baby goats now. We're playing to the idea that you guys are starting to think, all right, I know that there's a certain dynamic and character that I have, but maybe I've been doing things in a way that were assigned to me. When I was younger, my dad used to always say, you should be a lawyer. You're so argumentative. Hello, Aries rising. I never wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't want to go into being like managing people's arguments. That didn't sound like fun, but I could have easily been steered that direction, because I think now is a time for Capricorn. There's magic. You've been to the underworld. You've gone, you've looked, and now it's time to start to implement and pay attention to your self-talk. And is your self-talk working for you? So this is what I want to say. I don't want you to try to be positive in the face of negativity. I don't think it serves anybody to try to be positive when you feel fear. But maybe this is an opportunity for you to say to Spirit, how does fear empower me? How does this situation that right now looks a little sketchy and scary to me, what kind of roots are you trying to give me? How are you trying to build my structure so that I'm stronger? Because as you're saying, your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith, and don't try to force it. The goat might try to force it, or at least push beyond limits in a stoic manner. And your power comes from pulling back, and not pulling back because you don't want to take action. It's about pulling back to sort of see how the universe opens up a space for you to then take guided action. Because Capricorn, Serena is the angel of abundance. And I don't like to think of abundance as just money, because money is not necessarily abundance. Abundance is being able to actually receive the good tidings. And here is the High Priestess. The High Priestess also represents the moon. Okay. She represents an intuitive body. So here we have an opportunity for you to risk the bigger picture of your evolved self. And this is also what I want to say. It's not about trying to exterminate the old part of yourself. It's not trying to, sever one cord, because I don't really believe we can sever cords. I think the best way to diminish a negative or a challenging chord's pattern is to again see, what does it want? How does it want to empower me? sometimes the empowerment doesn't come as concrete as Capricorn would like it. And that's why you have to go into the intuitive body, where you're willing to sit in a situation that says, you know what? I'm going to actually take a moment and risk the idea that if I don't take action immediately, somehow spirit will come in and validate my intuitive body in the action that I think would be most appropriate or most powerful or most influential for the situation. This is really pivotal, I think. And Capricorn, I want to offer this because as you embark on this new moon, there's alignments to it with the other planetary activity. I can't remember the degree of the new moon, but it feels like it's somewhere near where Venus is going to be. So, yeah, pay attention to that because it's not, well, it could be about money. Self-worth is really the bottom line. Money comes on top of self-worth. Okay. All right. Let's go on to our Sagittariuses. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, here we go. Sagittarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Whoop. All right, our first angel is Ariel. The second is Bridget. The third is Shanti. And the final is Sonia. Ariel is being joined by the Love card. Bridget's being joined by the Stag. Shanti is being joined by the Letting Go card. And Sonia is being joined by the Owl. You know, it's very interesting to me when I look at this spread because it feels very much like Jupiter moving into Pisces is really going to stoke a broader dynamic for you. I want to offer it this way. I think that there is, with this new moon, I feel like there's going to be some dream time coming up for Sagittarius that's going to be related to past lives. I've been having the weirdest dreams. I don't really remember them. I kind of remember them while they're happening, and then I wake up and they're all faded. But I have had a lot of feelings and these weird intuitive hits about me in other incarnations that are playing out in this lifetime. For instance, again, with Lucky, me treating him holistically, I've had this weird recurring vision of myself in a past life where I had to go forage for herbs in order to remedy something because I really wasn't allowed to use a doctor in a traditional way. Not that I would want to anyway. Because Sagittarius, I believe that this connection to spirit and the Love card is really not about intimate love, but about seeing the wisdom of the transitions that we're going through, humanity is going through right now. It's really taking that Jupiter moving into Pisces and having that in connection with the new moon in Capricorn, make you understand that everything that's taking place is so that we can all sit in more authentic vibrations of what we want to express and what we love on this planet. And I feel like right now, it's really important not to get stuck a little bit. You know, Jupiter on the shadow side can be a little entitled, can be a little gluttonous. And I feel like this is a little bit of where your connection to spirit is the leader right now. So it's a little bit about looking deeper where you may be getting caught up in a certain dogma of how you have been thinking that is actually contributing to maybe a little bit of disruption with your own sense of peace in the world, or your own sense of peace with how things are playing out. I've seen a lot of challenging dynamics. I don't know if you guys were trending, but the other day I saw Southwest Airlines canceled a bunch of flights. And I think I'd mentioned that. And as so, I feel like it's my job to be aware that, oh, weird stuff's happening in the stars. So I'm going to be the arbiter, the perpetrator, the ambassador of peace during these times. That's what I think this is going at. Not to get kind of stuck in your human body, but to rather look deeper into how you can stand in leadership by allowing yourself to be peaceful as the rewriting of moving away from fear goes. You guys have watched me for a while. You know the letting go card is based on the movie Frozen and the song Let It Go. So this is moving away from fear and understanding that fear is not meant to tank us, but fear is an opportunity to actually bring us peace. It's just not quite processed that way through the human body, which is why I think Sagittarius is evolving to this connection with spirit being more dominant than maybe their connection to other humans. Because here again, we have Sonia representing a deceased loved one. But when I'm talking to such a large group of people, I always think of this as my personal team of angels, the masters and the guides that have agreed to walk with me through my lifetimes, to guide me when I cannot see the light in the darkness. And here's the owl. I really believe this is an opportunity for Jupiter ruled people, Sagittarius and Pisces for that matter, to really see the wisdom of the duality of life. The yeses and the nos, the blacks and the whites, the sun and the moon, and all of that it has to offer us because the brighter sides, the things we as humans consider positive, usually breed complacency. They're not motivating, and people don't usually take action. It's when things get uncomfortable that they start to take action. So if you think about all of this stuff that where this last couple of years has really put in play a new norm where people are saying, I don't necessarily have to work on in my office. I can work from home. So I think that there's an opportunity for Sagittarius to sit in a more, what's the word I want to use? I guess it's a philosophical energy to see the love through the disruption. That's where I'm going. And to know that we are personally, each of us, rewriting our new norm. And I think that's what the real theme is. It's going to go from the individual out into the structure versus the structure back to the individual. Hope that made sense. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. As I start to tune into the Scorpio energy, the first thing I think is that Pluto is your friend. If you're willing to go to that deeper truth of your own happiness, and this is what the holidays do for me. And let me tell you, I'm so happy they're over. But the holidays make me ask myself, are there places I wish I could be because there would be other humans there? Or am I actually happy and feeling at peace in the choices I've made here, and in not putting myself oil in a vinegar situation? So I feel like this is an opportunity for Scorpio to kind of take this new moon and to apply the basic parameters of what Capricorn represents, where are you allowing yourself to feel sad or to feel isolated or to feel lonely, but you really may not even want to be in that situation. Or maybe you're putting yourself in a situation where you're hoping, if I take the lion's share of the emotional dynamic and I'm willing to dig deep, then I'm going to extract that from another human. I think that might be a little bit of a challenge for you, because I think that's not necessarily true, and you can only really look to yourself. So when you're digging deep into your Scorpio energy, the real question is, what am I pretending not to know, and where am I giving up my power to somebody else? and hoping they'll make me happy. And if they don't, then I'll bring out my stinger. But that's really more for you, not to bring out your stinger, but to say, where am I willing to make myself happy? Where am I willing to make those decisions where I have to, in some ways, kill one thing in order for another thing to live? Because sometimes in the death of the caterpillar, not sometimes, almost all the time, the death of the caterpillar gives life to the butterfly. All right, Scorpio. Adriana is leading you towards the answers of your prayers. Archangel Gabriel is asking you, how are you talking to yourself? Oceana is asking if you're paying attention to your emotional body and if you're willing to assert yourself towards it. And then we have Merlina, which is about indecision. And when I look at that, I think it really is an indecision. It's fear run amok. Because it's in relation to Adriana saying that she's leading you to the answers to your prayers. And if we take the more challenging dynamic of Scorpio being controlling, sometimes Scorpio tries to control spirit. They don't mean to, I don't think, and sometimes doesn't work so well. So Adriana is being joined by the restriction card. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the novice. Oceana is being joined by the love card. And Merlina is being joined by the partnership card. So I want to say this to Scorpio. If you're having any challenges in your relationships right now, and Venus retrograde would, indicate that possibility for everybody, I think it's really about getting clear and getting very authentic with yourself about what you need in a relationship. So many times the human partners up, not because they're choosing the partner. Sometimes they choose the partner because they feel safer. They feel, if there's somebody with me, then at least I'm not alone. And I think that question needs to be revisited, because sometimes we attach to people that actually can stoke our fears a little bit. They can actually make it worse. And I'm not telling you to detonate all your relationships and murder them. I'm just saying that I think this is an opportunity for reevaluation. And within that reevaluation, you can look and say, well, maybe that person has just been scared for so long, they don't know how to be anything else. So it's my job not to fall in under their spell in some way, because Adriana is trying to lead you to the answers to your prayers, Scorpio, but there's this restriction card here. And I want to offer it this way. I think it's because on some level, there's outside expectations of where you should be, who you should be, what marker you should have hit. I don't know. It feels very herd mentality to me. And I feel like you don't want to be in any sort of herd mentality at all, because the thing about Scorpio, of all the signs, it rules the bedroom. It rules what happens when the lights are out, and although they could be on, but the lights are out and we are naked and vulnerable to another human being. And I feel like this is really an opportunity to see how you want to be vulnerable to another human being, because in the opportunity or the obstacle is the opportunity for a new beginning, as you recognize that maybe you've made some decisions based on fear. The reason that I entitled last week's, I think it was the first video on the Pluto-Venus conjunction. What are you pretending not to know? That's a really powerful question, because sometimes we pretend that we can find love somewhere, and the love is very different. People present love differently. And this is, again, why if we know a little bit more about somebody's birth chart, we can get an idea of how they process things, because a Scorpio moon and a Capricorn moon may not align very well. It's just, you're wanting this rich connection, and Capricorn may not be able to provide that, because Oceana is asking you to really dig deep, Scorpio, into what you want to experience in love, and to take action on that, to allow for this new beginning, and to really look at where you're letting your insecurities hold you back from having spirit leading you to the truth of who you are. And this is a very old paradigm. It's very much a paradigm where, watching all these old movies, it's very funny to see how men and women treated each other back in the day, and how women very much identified their successfulness with their partnerships and their ability to create those partnerships. Because in the final position is Merlina, representing confusion, and there's the partnership card. And I think you're confused because if your relationship is being restricted in some way, you're pretending that this relationship is going to provide something it's not. And I don't think you want to look at it. And I don't think it has to be a sad thing. I think it's actually in the acknowledgement of that you can rewrite the structure of how it works. So you don't have to ask an apple to be an orange, or a watermelon to be a cassava melon, or an eagle to be a hawk. You know, Scorpio is a fixed sign. And in that, I so get it, because my Taurus moon, when I think I'm right, dang yang, moving my butt no matter what, but I can be right and wrong at the same time. And so can you, Scorpio. So I think that the spirit is trying to lead you to a bigger chapter of happiness, a bigger chapter of connection, a more savory feeling of walking through this world where you don't feel like you're walking on a superficial platform that could crack in any moment and pull you under. And I feel like the more you're willing to stand in space for that, in reception of that, in the unknowing of that, the more you're actually standing in leadership. And then you can really stick that fixed energy in and go, okay, see, I was right. Pluto transformed me. And Pluto, again, I want to offer this, because so often we go straight to the death thing. But in order for you to be abundant, your poverty has to die. In order for you to feel great love, your singleness or your isolation has to die. I really want you to start to broaden the pictures of these planets, guys. All right, let's go on to our Libras. Oh, I did it again. I always sing Libra, don't I? Oh, I just noticed that I do that. And Small, was it you that mentioned that I do that last week? That every time I get there, I sing it. That's my sun sign, I guess. That's why I do that. So Acel, I love that name. Acel, I think. Acel. You say I'm attached to non-healthy relations and it's because of my trauma. Well, let's start to rewrite the trauma. And it's not as if you want to exterminate the trauma, because I actually think that trauma has benefit in the sense of, when I smell that kind of energy again, do I want to walk towards it and be traumatized again? Or will I sit back and have spirit validate my inner knowing that helps me sidestep the trauma? And I want to offer this too, because in my studies of spirituality over the decades, I've been shown that oftentimes people who have a strong intention to help bring awareness and empowerment to the planet have a very, very traumatic and challenging beginning on the planet. It's almost like an accelerated path. It's like you're on the Autobahn and you're just like, okay, I'm going to identify this challenge because it's going to compel me to move this direction. And this is sometimes where I get really annoyed, my Taurus moon, because I can just imagine my dad, in heaven going, so you're going to thank me for all the trauma I gave you? Because look what I did. Look who you turned into. And then I'm going to be like, no, I don't think I'm going to thank you for it, but whatever. So anyway, here we go. Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Libra's not just about partnership. I mean, it is, but it's also about beauty and harmony and comfort and things that make us feel at home. And I know we often think of Cancer as home, but ruling beauty, Venus loves to make a beautiful home, a beautiful environment. So this is one way to start to think about partnership as I create an environment that makes me feel peaceful and beautiful. And doesn't that make me feel more ready to accept peace and beauty from the outside world? Because that's the thing I think Spirit's been showing me the most. It's not that people can't be happy. It's they're afraid to be happy because the happiness may be snatched. So we start to kind of inadvertently create scenarios that continue having us kind of stretch and reach for something out there. And it's time to start to pay attention to what's right here. Libra, our first angel is Isabella. Yes, the timing is right for this new happiness. Archangel Michael is asking, do you have the courage to be happy, Libra? Mystique is saying to keep charging ahead, to expect miraculous solutions. And Desiree is saying to look at conditions, because the conditions outside aren't necessarily the issue. It may be the conditions inside, emotional conditions. Our social signs, Gemini, Aquarius, Libra, they all kind of represent other people and other people's opinions. And so sometimes we inadvertently think our happiness is connected to another person's opinion. And it can be, but to what percentage, Libra? Because if indeed you enjoy other people's collaboration, do you invalidate yourself if their percentage supersedes yours? I hope that made sense. Libra, Isabella is being joined by the water fairy. Archangel Michael is being joined by the wrist card. Mystique is being joined by the hawk. And Desiree is being joined by the fire fairy. So this is what I want to say. Libra, being an air sign, you're cerebral, you're all about balance. And sometimes when we think about creating harmony, we literally attach that harmony to another energy. As I said before, when this first thing started with Lucky's body, it started when Mars went into Scorpio. And I'm telling you, I was not happy. I was feeling very untrusting of my intuition. But at the same time, this is where I feel like your feelings matter. This is not necessarily about intuition, but yes, in all partnerships, in all ways, Libra, it is time for you to start to implement Venusian dynamics. It's time to really think about, am I creating beauty for myself? And if I am creating beauty for myself, am I not therefore creating harmony for myself, which then ripples out to others in my partnerships, my work partnerships, my intimate partnerships, whatever your partnerships are. Because this, Libra's a little like Cancer sometimes, I think, because I know they're both cardinal signs, but there's this outward focus of the group being more important than the individual. And while I do believe that the group is important, it's made up of individuals. And if the individuals are not happy, how is the group ever happy? So it's time to have the courage to really, truly look at what you're willing to risk for your own happiness. Because Mystique is telling you to charge ahead, to expect miraculous solutions, but those miracles happen because I'm willing to line up, look above the situation, and also to pay attention to the focus of my thought. The 11, the master number of thought. And I'm going to go back to what I was saying in the beginning of this video, which is the twos of 2022 very much make me think about the idea of coming into cooperation, coming into couplehood. But again, I'm not thinking about it from another human perspective, but into a bigger perspective of using this human vessel to truly live the concepts that my soul knows are possible. Because part of this for Libra is to really recognize your emotions matter. And if you keep being self-deprecating and you keep acquiescing to another, you're going to start to get resentful. And that's the shadow side of Libra. So now is a time to allow yourself to have inspired action. It's about saying, okay, Spirit, I am ready to start to see how when I create beauty for myself, I actually create beauty for others. Now, let me give you a tangible example of this, because sometimes beauty is not about cleaning the kitchen, not about pretty pillows, not about, beautiful art on the walls. Sometimes creating beauty is leaving a mess. Sometimes it's like allowing the dishes to sit in the sink while y'all sit on the couch and drink hot cocoa and watch a movie. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's about getting out of the picture and actually into the experience. And when I say picture, I mean like the view of how it's going to look to everybody else, the Hallmark picture. Okay, on to our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Have a great week for Team Re. Happy Happy New Year. All right, here we go, Virgo, rising moon, sun and stelliums. Our first angel is Francesca. The second is Indriel. The third is Akasha. And the final is Merlina. Hello, Taylor from Hermosa Beach. Welcome. You're just up the road from me. All right, Francesca is being joined by the Joy card. Indriel is being joined by the Movement card. Akasha is being joined by the Bee card. And Merlina is being joined by the Raven. All right, so this is where I'm going with this. You know, the Virgo is an interesting sign because there's a lot of duty attached to it. It represents employees and employers. It represents my health. It represents my pets. It represents the things I'm enslaved to, that I feel obligated and duty to, and am in service of. And I feel like Virgo lately in my meditations, in all of the star work, like when I watch Nova and I watch all these crazy space shows, they're really talking about the Virgin that is Virgo, the constellation of the Virgin. And it's always depicted so beautifully. And I find that so counterintuitive to the idea that it's my health, because clearly the Virgin must have good health. She's young, she represents the maiden. You know, we're not really seeing a crone energy in Virgo. So this is where I'm going with all of this, because in the tumbling of our defining of these things and in the human's need to compartmentalize, we're not allowing expansion. And I think that the expansion for Virgo is the Virgin going on a journey of the unknown, the willingness to learn about what work makes her happy, or to learn about what service brings joy to her, or to allow herself to be of service by really following a naive, hopeful, faithful, excited, inspired being. Because all the things, because if you really think about it, the fifth house of Leo represents romance, and the seventh house of Libra represents the partnership. So you meet somebody and you're all excited. And then you bring your health into the relationship, you bring your work into the relationship, you bring your attitude of what you're enslaved to into the relationship. So all of that backstory is here because Spirit is saying to Virgo, it's time to be the Virgin. It's time to start doing what you enjoy, not to criticize what you're enjoying, not to make sure other people approve of it. If you're a Virgo who enjoys the crossword puzzle and you can get lost in a crossword puzzle for 3 hours, enjoy yourself. Because Francesca is saying, what do you visualize right now? Negativity is literally blocking your progress. And there's the joy card. And I think this is a practicing of allowing yourself the journey of balance between what you are dutiful to, what you are employed to, your health dynamic. Yesterday morning, I've been off bacon and dairy for a long time. And I really wanted some bacon on Christmas morning and cinnamon rolls. As I told you, I didn't get the cinnamon rolls, but I got the cinnamon toast. And the nice news is I've been taking care of my body so well that it did not have necessarily a negative response to what I now know does not necessarily serve my body. I'm telling you this because it's about balance. It's about allowing yourself the privilege of going on a journey and then understanding that you do like a certain of knowingness of what that journey is going to be. Because I believe that your true service is to inspire others by allowing yourself to go more into a Virgin's energy. So let's take this a little bit further, Virgo. let's take the idea that your ruling planet will be going retrograde in January, that it will be in a conversation with Venus, my self-worth, and Pluto, which rules transformation. So what if your focus on the journey of your joy, not trying to attain the joy, but just investigating little, oh, I enjoy this. I enjoy a nap in the middle of the day. I don't think I'm being lazy, because your new being energy brings victory and good luck. And this is how you teach. You will never teach with your words. I know you're ruled by Mercury that teaches through words, but your actions here are what really are going to start to shift not just the outside world, but the inside world of you. Because Merlina is saying you're confused and indecisive, but the time for that is over. The time is really now back to saying, I'm not confused and indecisive about what brings me joy. I know that I'm on a journey to discover joy in this new chapter. So when I was younger, I like to go out to clubs. I like to be around other people. And even the movies that I watched this weekend, the weekend, it's only Sunday, but I watched The Sound of Music. I watched White Christmas. I watched The Bishop's Wife. All these movies I processed differently at my age. I made mulled cider. When I was a kid, mulled cider sounded like an old lady's drink. I didn't realize how yummy it was. Thank you, Joanna Gaines, for your recipe. Virgo, I think all of this is about rewriting the things that bring you joy. I think it's about going on the journey of discovery that is not about having to arrive at a destination that makes you happy. It's about, am I enjoying the journey on the way? And that's what the Capricorn restructuring is. That's what the new moon is about. That's what all this retrograde sort of in Capricorn is giving you an opportunity to really rewrite how you walk through this. And rather than feeling some sense of duty or perfection, it's the fabulous flawed virgin's exploration. All right. On my way to dun, 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 Leo. Okay. Exactly, Eridice. It's not easy to do, but I do think it's empowering, because when we've been in our head and other people see us that way, and then we give ourselves permission to shift our perception without exterminating our previous dynamics, then we sort of give people an opportunity to do the same. And that journey is really, am I having fun? Is this fun? Do I like this? If we honestly thought about how silly we are not to put what we enjoy at the priority of our lives, because if you really take a minute to think about it and you dig deep, you'll be like, well, geez, whenever I'm happy, everything else seems a little less annoying. All right, here we go, Leo. Bethany, self-care. Yvonne, vulnerability. Caressa, new happiness. And Daniel, the angel of marriage. Woohoo! And here we are in the sign of romance, talking about Daniel, the angel of marriage. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Lorena. Lady Lioness, good to see you here. Hope I said hello to everybody. All right, Leo. Bethany wants you to take care of yourself when it comes to going in new directions, because she's being joined by the horse. Yvonne is asking you to be vulnerable to your heart and to allow yourself to jump from one lily pad to another. Caressa is saying that it may feel a little disruptive as one chapter seems to close. But remember, for every door that closes, a window opens, because there is an opportunity for more authentic love. So this is where I'm going with this, because I don't think that this is for Leo outside of yourself. Bethany says it's time to take care of yourself. Self-care is extremely important to your experience. Now we have the horse. The horse is so many things. We could say Sagittarius. It kind of represents Sagittarius for me. It also represents thinking in a broader perspective, like Sagittarius does. It gives me an opportunity to evolve how I think of myself. And am I just the actor? Or am I actually a very vulnerable person who wants to be seen for who they are? Because this is what Yvonne represents, is vulnerability. And I don't think it's about being vulnerable to your emotional baggage and like putting it out on a world stage, as much as it's now about what's the wisdom of that emotional baggage. Because I'm telling you, I did every single ceremony, from spiral ceremonies to throwing rocks to howling at the moon, to try to exterminate my past. I could never do that. It always sat here. Maybe it's my Taurus fixed moon in the second sign of history. But at the same time, as I've evolved, that kind of rocky, broken road has really given me an opportunity to evolve. And that's what Spirit's saying. Look at how the disruption is offering you new happiness. So let me say this. If you're a Leo and you're finding yourself in a breakup or in a change of a job, a big dynamic is changing, and there's a very good possibility that can happen because there's so many dynamics affording us change right now. This really is an opportunity for you to stand in a deeper and more solid stance for what you love, because here's Daniel, the angel of marriage, and there's the dog, unconditional love, loyalty, and sincerity. And I think that it's really important. Daniel talks mostly about our history in relationships, because we usually bring our history into everything. Whether people realize it or not, they're like, if they've had a liar, they look for lies. If they've had a cheater, they, sneak into someone's phone. So this is really where Spirit is saying, I'm asking you, Leos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, that represents the heart and romance, to trust a deeper knowing, to allow yourself to go to the evolved version and to see things from a broader perspective, and to know that your own vulnerability is not giving your power away to somebody else. It's actually standing in your power. Because when you're standing in your power, if there is not a receptive response that feels good, then your willingness to shift again is what is so important, because you do have an opportunity to truly create a new and more powerful relationship than you've had before. And if you're in a relationship, you have an opportunity to evolve that relationship. And I want to offer it this way, because this is not about Leo looking outside to the other person. It's about what they're willing to own from the inside out. The shadow side of being a Leo ascendant is being vulnerable to the heart and not wanting to be vulnerable to the heart. And sometimes that can play out by Leo being a bit of a ham, or a bit, bigger in they distract people with their animation and with their charmingness and with the actor in them. So now it's about digging a little bit deeper. Okay, let's go on to our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I do, Acel. I do. Absolutely, I do. And you can find me pretty simple, Simon. Okay, here we go. I am wearing my little zebra. I like this shirt. I don't know why. It's kind of a classic. All right, here we go. Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. So we have this new moon in Capricorn, and I'm for some reason I'm thinking this new moon is somewhere around 12 degrees, 13, 14 degrees Capricorn. I can't quite remember. I remember hearing when I was listening to other people talk about it that it was it's kind of near my midheaven. My midheaven's at 15 degrees. I think it was within 3 degrees. The reason I bring this up for Cancer is because everybody who's a Cancer is going to see this new moon is going to affect you. And if you're like a midborn Cancer, again, that 12 to 11, 12, 13 degrees, I want you to kind of pay attention to what this has to offer you, because I think that this new moon has an opportunity to really start to lay the seeds to lift restriction. And I don't mean restriction from the outside world. I mean the restriction that your own insecurities might be fueling as, the fear levels around the planet start to get stoked. All right, here we go. Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Fiona. The second is Ariel. The third is Opal. And the final is Grace and Antoinette. Oops. All right. Fiona is being joined by the Letting Go card. Ariel is being joined by the Lady of the Lake. Opal's being joined by the Stag. And Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Joy card. The Letting Go card for me is always, always, always the song Let It Go from Frozen. It's funny how some distance makes everything look small, and the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits, to break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. It's also the number 44 of the Master Builder. And I believe that this is an opportunity for Cancer to really do an inventory where you see how Spirit has been working in connection with you, that you've been getting these illuminations. Now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving, and to be open to receiving the inspirations that actually make fear empower you. Because I don't want to offer it like I'm sitting on a cliff and I'm about to fall off. That's not the kind of fear I'm talking about. I'm talking about the big fears. I'm talking about the fears of, our heart being twisted and thrown out into the street and stomped on, and by all the vulnerabilities that are going on around the world. Because Ariel is telling you in many ways to have a connection. In order for you to truly feel your inner truth, you've got to be willing to walk through the storm between your head and your heart right now, and to hold your sword of truth and your connection to Spirit. Through this whole virus situation, I've not gotten one cold. I haven't gotten one sniffle. I have not felt truly vulnerable in a health way. And part of it is because I know that I've been taking actions to support my immune system. I'm saying this because I feel like your connection to Spirit, Cancer, is also part of you paying attention to what you've already been taking care of. You're already sort of lined up. Now you kind of trust a little bit more the journey you've been taking, because in the angels' advice, I feel like they're telling me you've been standing in leadership for your family, but also with God and the angels to keep everybody safe. And so now is no time to really backtrack on that, because I believe that as you stand in compassion for this is the thing, the journey of trust, the journey of connection is never linear. It's not like you're like, oh yeah, I trust, la, 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 la. It's a roller coaster ride. 1 minute you trust, 1 minute you're like, oh, I don't know, blah, 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 blah. So as you have compassion for yourself, as you find your true north, you're like, okay, because this is the way I want to put it. The Joy card feels a little bit pie in the sky sometimes, because again, the human has such a hard time feeling joy. But what I do think is that when you, as a Cancer, start to realize the ruler, okay, Cancer is the mother. The moon rules Cancer. So you trust your intuitions. You trust some of the things your mother told you in the way of healing. Oh, put aloe vera on this, or drink ginger ale if your tummy hurts. These old-fashioned remedies actually really work. So here, somehow you're conquering your fears through Spirit's inspirations, and your courage to follow those inspirations in direct relation to how you're tending to those you love. And I feel a little bit like, as you continue to build your muscle for this, you have to be compassionate for yourself as you learn deeper and deeper levels of experiencing joy. So once again, back to Lucky. When right before his whole weird skin crazy blow up thing happened, I literally was walking around like a dumbass going, I'm so happy. Everything's so great. And in the back of my little human head, I'd be like, don't tempt the gods. Don't tempt the gods. You know, you say you're happy, shit hits the fan. That is not true. It's the training of that back thought. So Cancer, this is where I'm going. If you can identify the training of the back thought, you don't have to avoid the back thought. You just get to say, I'm courageous enough to remember it's a back thought. It's a training. It's a brand. It's a habit. And then you can have more compassion for yourself as you reach higher and higher levels of accepting joy and happiness. And that's how we stand as light workers on this planet. It's not because we go out and help the downtrodden. It's because we stand as an example of what you can do when you take your crap and you turn it into manure that makes your garden grow. All right, let's go on to our Geminis, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And I want to offer this too as I'm shuffling the cards. Anything we invest in, no matter the sign, no matter the moon, no matter your rising or your sun, when you invest in something you really want, it triggers vulnerability. It triggers loss. Every thought is two thoughts. First thought is the inspired thought of what I want to experience. The second is, how will I get it? And is it possible to get it? And oftentimes we look down our rear view mirror for evidence, and the evidence isn't there. So we have to give life that we can change lanes, even get off the highway if the highway isn't taking us where we want to go. And that's what all this is about. So Gemini, speaking of highways, let's talk about you. I didn't even mention the nodes are going to change soon too. Okay, here we go. Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Aurora says you're flying high right now. Don't descend. Then we have Archangel Michael asking us for courage again. Azure saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. And there is Rosetta. Very interesting. Sometimes I think it's hard for an adult Gemini to be a child. I know you represent children, and I know you represent a youthful vibration throughout the zodiac, but at the same time, you got that back and forth going on in your head. And sometimes I feel like you should listen to the kid more than you listen to the adult in your head. Okay. Because kids believe in magic. That's why I'm saying that. Welcome, Crystalline. Did I say hi to you, Karen? I hope I did. I think I said hi to Jenny. Samantha, welcome. All right. Aurora is being joined by the transformational death card. Archangel Michael's being joined by the focus card. Azure's joined by the love card. And Rosetta's being joined by the wealth card. You know, it's interesting to me because the first thing I think is that something in Gemini's everyday activities is going to transform in a big way. And I want to offer it this way because it may be something you're very used to and something that you don't necessarily enjoy right away or often, but it's something that you're used to. And it could be your home environment. It could be your work environment. It could be your car. Something is about to shift. But like, I almost want to say it this way. It could be your computer even, but don't buy a new computer during the retrograde. But anyway, because I feel like something that feels like a bit of a pain in the ass, like it's an expense, or it feels like it puts me in a little bit of a sketchy place. But I want to offer it this way because Aurora says you're flying high right now. Don't descend, that you will soon inspire others by your example. And I think this is allowing for a transformation. And more than anything, I think that the physical transformation that this new moon is going to bring into play, along with all the other astrological dynamics going on, Pluto, Venus, Mercury, blah, blah. I think it's going to, more than anything else, it's going to help Gemini with their focus and the courage to focus more on what they want versus what is contrary to what they want. You know, the little bit of the difference between Gemini and say like Capricorn or Virgo is Gemini doesn't necessarily put itself in a dutiful place, but it does put itself in contrasting experiences, you know, going back and forth, the hemming and the hawing of the possibilities. And I feel like Spirit is saying that the death could be in the hemming and the hawing so much as when you're hemming and you know you're going to hawing. When you're hawing, you're turning it over to spirit, because there's the love card and there's Azure saying your desired outcome will happen in the near future. Have patience and faith and don't try to force it. And what I think that is allowing Gemini, especially grown-up Geminis, to enjoy life a little bit more with a more childlike dynamic. This could be about teaching and parenting, but I don't think it is. I think this is about the harmonious wealth of playing out a little bit more fun in life. It's almost as if the older you're getting, the more childlike you become. It's almost as if this coming year may see that 2021 brought about a metaphorical death for Gemini that makes you claim life in a way that actually makes you feel probably a little bit more. I don't know if I feel like the word risk is really the most appropriate word, but I feel like I'm on a journey. You know, when you're driving a car and you're going down the road and then there's a bend ahead and you know you're going to make that bend, but you don't know exactly what's around that bend. That's what I feel like Gemini will be doing. They'll be driving around the bend, but they'll be feeling more excited about what's around the bend versus what they feel obligated for. So if indeed there is a transformation, if you find yourself with your car broken down, then know that spirit will bring you the money you need to get a new car. If you find your job is shifting and there's a part of you that's like, I don't want to lose the money, I think it's time to start to look at whether the money is really worth the life force energy that money is taking from you, and then start to align and then let spirit lead the way, because I think something much bigger is happening. And I think it's going to play itself out in 2022. All right. Let's go on to our Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. There I sang again. What, with changing lanes at 70 miles an hour? You better be looking in your mirrors. All right, here we go, Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. When I see you all again, it will be 2022. I can't believe it. So as I'm shuffling for Taurus, I have to tell you, I was watching TikTok the other day, and this guy goes, my nephew, I don't know if I might not have the story exactly right, but close enough. The guy goes, my nephew came up to me the other day and says, so, uncle, how does it feel to be from the 1900s? The guy's like, what? I'm not from the 1900s. I'm from the 80s. And I started thinking about, I'm from the 1900s, literally mid-century. So anyway, I don't know why I bring it up. Taurus, history, my story. Taurus, rising, moon, and stellium. Taurus, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go. And if you are around 11 degrees Taurus, put out an intention. Because spirit is here with Fiona telling you that now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. Then we have Chantal, the angel of romance. We have Astera saying to reach for the stars. And then we have Crystal. Ooh, my. So now let's think about Taurus's ruling planet is Venus. Venus is in Capricorn, not our most favorite place, but it is very much in a good, I would think this is a good aspect for you because there's a trine aspect to this. So if you're brave enough to look at the structure of your Venusian dynamics, how am I ruling the things that I love? And it could be intimate love. I'm not saying it isn't, but how viable do I think it is? How important is it to me? Especially this time of year, because, you know, sometimes I think we think we're supposed to be in one place and we're not. And yesterday I was thinking to myself, I really wish that I had a companion here. I wish there was someone like me. And then I thought to myself, I wish I could be sitting here with me, but I am sitting here with me. Do you see? There's like weird mind melds going on right now. All right, Taurus. Fiona's being joined by the Baird, your history. Chantal's being joined by the Queen, your ability to receive. Astera's being joined by the Movement card. Ooh, that's fun. And we have Crystal being joined by the Spider, which for me is a relationship card. Uranus is with us. Yes, it is. I want to offer this because when I look at this spread, I can't help but thinking, and I've got to tell you, as a Taurus moon, I don't see love coming my way anytime soon. And that's my story. But I got to tell you, there's something coming up where I feel like Taurus is going to experience a completely different dynamic. And this is where we kind of take this fixed energy and transfer it from one location to another. I want to offer it like this, because Fiona's saying, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And the Baird feels like it's like you're asking to be released from your history. Taurus, you're asked to, like, I don't mind it, but can we put it in the rearview mirror now? I'm kind of done with this whole story. I'm over it. I'm tired of feeling so unsettled. And I want to offer it this way because Chantal is the angel of romance. She says romance is imminent, either with a newcomer or through a new relationship. And there's the Queen. And I feel like this is very much a Venusian energy of learning for Taurus to learn how to receive. The bull by nature, Taurus is the bull. The bull is a beast of burden. It's used to plugging along, working hard, trudging, the fields. And I feel like the Queen is saying, this is really about reception. This is really about backing off. And if for some reason you are a female and you are looking to receive a relationship, you're ready for that marker, then I think this is an opportunity for you to see how much you actually believe in it and how much you see the challenging road ahead. And when I say that, I'm literally looking at a pie. How many pieces of pie complete your positive outcome, and how many pieces contribute to your story? Because if it's an 8-piece pie and it's 50-50, then it'll defer to the more challenging dynamic. So you want to get your percentages up, because Astera is saying to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and not to compromise. And I almost want to say it this way, because the stars may literally mean the transits. And as they move, Spirit is going to bring you opportunities that you otherwise would not have been able to see or know. I really think that the structural dynamics of our work environment are going to change how we do things. And I think that some of the isolation and the Zoom calls that we've been feeling are going to make people, when they do get an opportunity to be in a work setting, be more cooperative or more complementary to each other, and working not in competition, but as a team for competition. Because I see partnership again in the spider. I also see the network, and I see Crystal saying, have faith and hope, there's more on the horizon. And I think this is the history transformed. I think this is the history that serves versus pulls me under. So often the human, I watched another show. Okay, so I'm a TV addict, apparently. I watched Long Lost Family last night, and it's all about adopted kids. And I don't want to take anything away from the adoption experience, but it's very interesting to me, believing that the soul chooses its experience to have people who you don't even know, who put you up for adoption, and most of these adopted kids have a very positive experience in their adopted families. And yet there is an old story attached here to that initial experience. So I really want to say that I think I'm using that as an example because I think Taurus has to really look at that history and decide if that history merits tanking your future. Because as long as you're stuck in that and you're fixed in it, and you won't allow it to evolve, you won't allow it to illuminate you, you'll be challenged. But I think in this spread, Spirit is saying the opposite. Spirit is saying you're ready. And that's why Uranus is transiting you right now, because you're going to see some sort of solid, secure, structural change by Uranus's influence. All right, let's go on to our final sign, Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I think we know someone who can. We haven't had one of you in a long time, I'll tell you. So it kind of makes me feel fun. But let's get rid of that. I don't need that nonsense. All right, here we go. Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh my gosh, I watched that, Katerina. Was that doctor that did that to like 200 babies and he fathered some of them? I watched that. Some people are, it's really amazing to me because I want to offer this. Just, I know it's kind of a sidetrack, but Katerina, so many of you that were a part of that. I can't remember the name of the situation, but I really feel like this was a beautiful soul's journey for you to illuminate how the child has been taken um, and not given its own individual identity, you know, and I feel as if these situations are of such a high vibration that I hope that the souls that are involved in the balancing of them see the wisdom of their journeys, because I can't imagine how hard that would be to walk through something like that. We need to also remove this person as well. I'm kind of over that here. Yeah. Okay, let's go on to Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, thank you. All right, Aries, our first angel is Fiona. The second is Maya. The third is Archangel Gabriel. And the final is Crystal. Okay, clearly Pluto is a problem today because it's bringing all like people with like 15 different accounts with the same stupid message. I don't know why people think that works. I really think that people are responding to genuine vibrations these days. Can't just throw out random things and expect people to respond. Oop, here we go, Aries. Fiona says, now that you've asked angels for help. And then there's the dragon. Then we have Maya and the raven. We have Archangel Gabriel and the perception card. And we have Crystal and the wasp. Well, okay, so this is going to be very interesting. I'm an Aries rising, and my whole life people have seen me as assertive, aggressive, hostile. And, you know, I can be all of those things. But I will tell you that one of the greatest gifts of my age is learning how to use my Aries energy in a way that I'm proud of. And I feel like Fiona says, now that you've asked God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. And this is where this whole structural thing, if you think about Aries is a natural square to Capricorn. So Aries is having a natural square right now to Venus, to Pluto. Mercury's going to pop in there. The sun's creeping around in there. And I think this is an opportunity for Aries to truly be inspired and enlightened by how their calm is. It's almost as if you have a sword, you have an ability to take action if necessary. But I think you're starting to have discerning powers as to when you are being triggered and when you're taking decisive action, because Spirit is here teaching Aries about the timing of a situation. And sometimes the timing is really Aries itself understanding their own transformation, seeing the underbelly of who you are and knowing that that is also the magical part of yourself. When I think of being an Aries rising, I actually really embrace it. I don't know if I would have been able to get through this lifetime if I wasn't an Aries rising, because I would have been pulled under by the sheer tidal wave of other people's expectations of me. And so now I feel like Aries is getting an opportunity to really rewrite how they perceive themselves, to see themselves from a much less angry warrior, aggressive, blunt. I mean, all those negative terms are so unfair to the courageous one, to the brave one, to the pioneer. Who do you want to stand beside you in battle? Well, dang, if you don't want an Aries rising, because they're going to be loyal to you. So, Aries, I think this is an opportunity, and I say this to myself, an opportunity to look how many times I make assumptions and I go to an old place that makes me want to go to war. And sometimes I need to take a breath and let spirit show me something I can't see. And as I have learned how to really sit in inspiration of things, I don't know if I don't get mad or I don't get stingy, but I don't do it in the same way. And in doing that, I'm now proud of myself. So I think that overall, for Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, this particular new moon in Capricorn, this Venus is really important to me right now because Venus is retrograde and her conversations with Pluto are letting me rewrite something that appears to be distasteful. And at the same time, if it hadn't been distasteful, I would not have moved. So I think this is important. And I also feel like this is about self-talk for Aries. I feel like the faith is going to supersede the old story that people have been telling you. And I think that in that respect, you're going to start to show up differently. So where before you may have been triggered, somebody says something to you and you snap back with a response, you may actually take a moment before you choose to respond and you decide whether that party deserves your energy. I think this is really powerful. I'm going to pull one more card on that wasp just to make sure. I want to say this for this next week too, okay? As an Aries rising myself, guys, just be gentle with yourselves. I just got the disruption card. And the main thing I want to talk about is I have been talking about air travel and delays and restrictions. And I don't know that I don't think that's still in place. So if you are an Aries and you are stuck in an airport, get a crossword puzzle, get a good book, put on your pods and enjoy some good relaxing music because you ain't going anywhere for a while. And I think that you'll be very proud of yourself if you don't default to some old habits and you just kind of surrender to the craziness of holiday travel in 2021. Okay, that's it for me. That's it for me for today. I will be back in 2022 with a whole new do. No, I'm kidding. But I'm excited for moving forward, everybody. I want to thank you all again for being here and for being so loyal to me and coming every week. I just love you to death. Juan and Small Wildflowers, I couldn't do this show without you. So you just have my eternal gratitude. I feel blessed by spirit every day because of you guys. So thank you. And I'll see you next Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Peace out, guys.